surreal note, let me quote Rudyard Kipling. We don't want to fight, but by jingo, if we do, we've got the men, we've got the ships, and we've got the money too. There's plenty of jingo, Madam Deputy Speaker, but of course the men, the ships, and the money are more difficult to find. Some of the fantasy talk in this debate, I genuinely hope, is widely seen by the general public. It was a Gilbert and Sullivan performance as they first conceded that our weaknesses are such we need to conceal them in the report. That's what the Right Honourable Gentleman for Rayleigh said in an intervention. We've had to conceal the extent of our weaknesses in this report. No, I won't. I won't. I'm mindful of the Deputy Speaker's injunction that she's fast running out of time, and I don't intend to take my whole 13 minutes. Don't worry, I'll make sure people see the Right Honourable Gentleman's performance. We need to conceal the extent of our weakness, and then he adumbrated our weakness. And if that wasn't our total weakness, if there are weaknesses that he concealed from that list, then I ask myself, why on earth are these people pirouetting in this Parliament about which enemy they're going to fight, in which theatre of war, when they don't...
Point of order, Mark Francois.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll keep this very brief. For the record, the gentleman opposite has traduced me. He's literally said directly the opposite, as Hansard will show, of what I actually said.
Thank the Right Honourable Gentleman for that point of order. I think he's used it to make his point, but I will return to George Galloway.
Pomposity, but not a point of order. The Right Honourable Gentleman said we were careful to conceal some of our weaknesses, and then he adumbrated those weaknesses, and if there are more that he concealed, we're in very big trouble. But my point is this: we haven't the men, we haven't the ships, we haven't the money. So why are we picking enemies? I've lost count of the number in the course of this debate that we are either already fighting or may have to get ready to fight. That's the absurdity, the Alice in Wonderland nature of this debate. We can't retain even the low numbers of people that we recruit. Why? We ought to know why. The lions don't much like the look of the donkeys that lead them into war after war, which they later disown and admit should never have been fought. You know, Madam Deputy Speaker, to what I refer. I had a debate in the Oxford Union. The then Defence Secretary ran away, didn't turn up. I had to deal with his subordinates. But I made the point there. I was a boy soldier, Royal Artillery Battery 2, Army Cadet Force. I trained with the Royal Marines for weeks in Poole in Dorset. I am in no sense a pacifist. I want to defend our country. I want our soldiers to be properly paid, properly housed, properly clad, properly trained, properly armed. I've picked up Tommy Atkins, you know, stricken with addiction from Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester, just out of strange ways, addicted to spice, abandoned by the politicians that gaily sent them off to one needless, pointless, fruitless war after another. Don't come here and say you're standing up for Tommy Atkins. It's the donkeys that sent them to wars that even those donkeys now disavow that are the reason people don't join our armed forces. They don't trust these people over here not to send them into another Iraq, not to send them into another Afghanistan, and they are right not to trust them. The truth is that our country is in very real danger of falling into the trap of Mussolini, going around the world threatening people with Germany's army. Our politicians go around the world threatening people with America's army. But there's a big change coming, Madam Deputy Speaker. They don't like it on either side of the aisle. But President Trump is coming back in November, and he doesn't much fancy their NATO. He doesn't intend to send American soldiers to die for Kupiansk or for the Zelensky regime in Kiev. He has no intention whatever of continuing their war in Ukraine. And I heard a senior member of the House say, if America withdraws from NATO, we're going to have to increase our contribution to 5%, 6%, maybe 7% of GDP. These people seriously imagine that they'll continue NATO without the United States of America? What kind of NATO would that? Would really be Gilbert and Sullivan. Unless, of course, we're going to devote not 50 billion of our public treasure, but hundreds of billions of our public treasure on defence. Well, have any of these people seen the state of the public realm in Britain? Have they seen the state of the National Health Service? Have they seen the state of our streets, our public buildings, our public transport? Have they seen the wage packets being earned in this country? Have they seen pensioner poverty? Have they seen fuel poverty in action? Have they met people that have to choose between eating and heating? And these fools want to spend not 50 billion, but hundreds of billions on weapons of war that we're going to fight with an army that could fit into Villa Park. 70,000 soldiers can fit into a single football stadium. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was for some time the Member of Parliament for a naval shipbuilding yard, Yarrows on the Clyde, producers of excellence. I wrestled, not physically, but I wrestled with our late and lamented friend, Alan Clark, when he was the Minister for Procurement. And I won. I got all 5 of the Type 23s that were procured at that time. I want us to have a good Navy. I want us to have a good army. But not so we can sail it to bombard the natives in the Red Sea. Not so we can send a Gilbert and Sullivan squadron to the South China Sea like a pea shooter firing at an elephant, or a whale, in fact, in the case of the Chinese Navy. Not so we can pretend that our 70,000 soldiers and our aircraft carriers that break down and have to be glued together, our destroyers that crash into each other in the Solent. Not because I want to pretend we are a Rudyard Kipling era imperial power. That is the key problem, Madam Deputy Speaker. Some of these people still think we are in the 19th century, that we can send gunboats up the Yangtze and not have them sunk, that the natives in the Yemen are the natives we used to push around for a century or more. The empire strikes back, you know. The empire's actually bigger than us now. We owned India, now the Indians own us. Shall I take that metaphor further. The idea that this little country of ours, this dear green place of ours, with all of its problems and its enfeeblement caused by our economic decline and the rapid and massive economic advance of others, is still in a position to stand in this Parliament, making dispensations to this battleground or that we can still slice our diminishing national wealth in a way that allows us to pretend to be an imperial power. I have time only for one last point. I was startled by the Right Honourable Lady, the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, when she told us that $2 billion of our defence budget is going on foreign exchange costs, meaning that not only are we spending 50 billion of British taxpayers' pounds, we're spending it in foreign countries. We're allowing foreign companies and yards to build our defence infrastructure in a way, as the honourable gentleman, the Right Honourable gentleman from North Durham pointed out, in a way that France would never dream of doing. So whatever we're going to spend it in Britain, spend it in British yards, in British factories. You'll save $2 billion in foreign exchange costs at the very least.